I'm standing in the middle of one of the busiest streets in Rome and the busiest street in my neighborhood. As you can see, it's very quiet. Crickets. I expect to see tumbleweeds rolling down the street at any moment. Usually, this time of day, rush hour, it is bumper to bumper traffic. Like, it's nuts. You can hear the tram behind me that's going in the opposite direction. But yeah, very quiet. Where's everybody? Why are all the Romans out of town? Where did they go? It's Ferragosto. That's what's going on. Buongiorno and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's a very new channel. If you're here for the first time, my name is Arlene and I am an American woman of a certain age who has been living in Rome since 2008. And on this channel, we talk about all things Italiano, lifestyle, St. Martin and Anguilla. And today we're going to be talking about Ferragosto. So what is Ferragosto? It was started in 18 BC by Emperor Augustus. And it was the 1st of August. And it was a celebration of the end of the harvest season. And it was a time for people to relax, spend time with friends and family, and celebrate and enjoy the fruits of said harvest. When the Catholic Church started, it became the Assumption of Mary, which is a major religious holiday, and that's on the 15th of August. So keep in mind, when we say Ferragosto, we are talking about the actual holiday, which is on August 15th, but it's also a shorthand talking about the month of August here in Italy. And on the actual holiday, museums are closed. Many places are closed. Back in the day, everything was closed. And when I first moved to Rome, I will never forget my first summer here. You know, my friends told me, but I didn't really understand it until I was living it. And I went to the dry cleaner, dropped off some things. I think it was like the last week in July. And they said, yes, you can come pick this up in September. It's like September. They're like, yeah, we close for the entire month of August. And that time, remember, this is before social media took off and Airbnbs took over the historic center. There weren't that many tourists in August because it was not a good time to come because it's blazing hot and everything is closed. I remember seeing all these American tourists walking around in a daze because it was so hot and everything was closed. They were like, what's open? Like if you're on Via Monserrato or Via del Pellegrino, literally nothing was open then. Now, most of the boutiques are closed, but some of the restaurants are open, especially in the historic center. So I find it fascinating just as an American to be in a place where, everything just shuts down. And it's not just Italy, it's in Europe as well. As I said, so more things are open now. And they had to pass laws to make sure that there were people around to actually answer the phones. There's this famous story of some Fortune 500 company that's internationally known. I don't know which company it is, but they have, hundreds of employees, and they were closed for the August break. And some international business journalists noticed a spike in the stock price. And when they called the corporate communications office to get some clarity, find out what was going on, they received a voicemail saying, the office is closed. We will return your message in September. So they had to pass a law saying, look, if you have X amount of employees or you're on the stock exchange, you're a publicly traded company, you have to have somebody in the office to answer the phone. And again, to my American eyes, this is just bananas. you know, because we all know corporate communications, those jobs are very intense. You're always on the clock, really. You never get a break. So this idea that a major corporation would shut down and nobody is there to pick up the phone, literally, is hilarious to me. I mean, it's not hilarious if you're trying to get anything done, of course. A friend of mine here swears that her OBGYN scheduled her C-section when she did so that she was able to still take her break. Like, people don't play. People don't play here about their breaks and their vacations, and I applaud that. It took me a while to get on that rhythm, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I really am. So the last few years, I have made an effort not to be here in August. I was either in the Caribbean or Tuscany or both. And this summer, I am staying in town because I have this upcoming move. There's a lot going on stateside with work. And you know, in America, you can't tell people you're taking 4 weeks off. They'll look at you like you're nuts. So yeah, I'm not doing that this year. And I really wonder about this tradition because it's not just, you know, a holiday. It's a cultural thing too. So where's everybody going? Those who have vacation homes are going there, or they have friends who have vacation homes, so they're going to spend time with them. And they're at the sea, the countryside, the mountains, going to the lakes, going to other countries, especially within the EU. Greece is super popular, so is France, Switzerland, Germany, Portugal. There is also some international traveling happening, although not so much to the States this summer. And people start coming back end of August, early September, which we call the re-entro. And it's like a giant light switch is turned on and the city is back. Everybody is rested, ready, super tan. And it's just, the energy is really incredible because people had a proper break. And even if you stay in town, you feel it. So this mic is not working. I don't know why. And also I'm sweating like crazy because I'm gonna stop saying how hot it is because that's annoying. Keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But that's the main reason why my face has not been on camera for most of this video, because it's not a good look. Anyway, I wonder if things are going to start to change regarding Ferragosto. And I do understand the argument that it's not so good for everything to shut down. At the same time, there are people who don't want to take their vacation in August because everything is more expensive. Like the places that the locals are going to, you know, up in the mountains, the lakes, the countryside, the seaside, the prices are higher because everybody is going, right? So if you stagger the time when your employees have to take their vacation, or if you're self-employed when you take your break, that would be good, right? So that argument I completely understand. The other argument I'm not so sure about, this idea that we have to change this cultural thing to accommodate tourists. So there was a post on social media. This person said they were in the center of Milan, the centro near the Duomo, and how there were all these tourists. I think last year they said in August there were 800,000 tourists in Milan. So for Rome, you know, that number is much higher, right? And he said that nothing is open except for like McDonald's and Starbucks, and they had all these lines, and that in 2025 we can't be doing this. And there was a lot of pushback in the comments, and I understand, like, if you're a mom and pop restaurant and you want to give everybody a break, most of these mom and pop places, they are also the waiter, the chef, the everything, you know. They don't have that big a staff so that, you know, they can break up vacation time. So they shut the restaurant down. It makes sense because all the locals are the ones who go to that restaurant. They're not in town, so why would they stay open? They can't do the same thing let's say in October or November, shut down for an entire month, they would lose too much money. So this idea that they should change this to accommodate tourists, I'm not so sure about that. So we'll see. Like I said, there was a lot of pushback in that social media post in the comments, and maybe there's a middle ground, but it's not like everything was closed. People were able to find some place to eat, some place to drink. Obviously, all the hotels have restaurants that are open and bars that are open. And that's another thing. When you start to cater to tourists at the expense of residents, that's when you have situations like the butcher closes, the cobbler closes, and in their place you have these little stores that sell ready to go food so that people who stay at Airbnb can like stick it in a microwave. But then what happens to that neighborhood? I mean, also, if you're a tourist, do you really want to visit a place where no locals live? It's a complicated issue, but I do not agree with that post at all, saying like it's backwards to not cater to tourists. I just think that's short-sighted. Here's the problem. Travel has changed so much because of social media. And so if you're trying to cater to the influencer hotspot, what happens when the influencers have moved on and have deemed another location the place to be? Or you have a backlash. You see all these people complaining in Positano that there are too many tourists, which is kind of funny because they're tourists. And they're saying it's this and it's that. Whereas anybody doing any kind of research would tell you going to Positano at the height of high season, it's a lot. It's very crowded. Also, remember, you have all those day trippers who are, clogging up the streets. I mean, that's just the way it is. So people move on to the next hotspot. What happens to all the businesses that were catering to those tourists? I just think it's very short-sighted. And I think there should be some kind of middle ground. This idea that Rome, Milan, Florence, Venice, etc., have to completely change their essence to accommodate people who are literally visiting. They don't live there. I disagree. I completely disagree. So anyway, that's my take as I sit here sweating like I'm standing, walking and talking. The only reason why I feel comfortable doing this is because nobody's on the street, really. Thank you for watching this video. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If not, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will help grow the channel. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I am trying to stay in the shade.